Thank you for bearing with us, and we welcome you to another wonderful winning Wednesday.
Yeah, welcome. It's good to be here on another wonderful winning Wednesday. What do we have today, Lee?
We are going to be discussing something that everyone should do, similar to the fact that everyone goes to the doctor to have an annual health check. In similar
Mhm.
fashion, the business owner should be reviewing their their credit report to make sure that their credit report is sound and showing what it actually needs to show. So today, for today's wonderful winning Wednesday, the conversation is going to be, are you what are you doing on an annual basis to make sure that your credit report is actually showing healthy? So
Mhm.
what I was going to do today is I was going to pull up a sample of an Experian credit report for a business that is available on their website. And to many, to many, to the untrained eye, this is definitely going to be something that they hadn't seen before, and not having seen it before, they're going to be wondering, well, can I read this all on my own?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, yeah, there is the opportunity that you will be able to. You're making noise. Yeah, you can probably review this all on your own, right? But wouldn't it be better to review something like this on an annual basis? I would say you probably want to do it on a quarterly basis so that you could have an understanding of what is here and how it is going to be impacting your business. So, Eunice, you can see it on the screen with what I'm sharing.
Yes, I can.
And the first part of this is that everything that we spoke about when it comes to your business and the health of your business is something that we wanted to share with you because we basically spend a lot of time with a lot of our different customers going over their credit report, because that's going to be a sound way to determine whether or not if they're going to be in a position to move forward. So one of the things that you can do just really quickly is the first part of your credit report. This one is going to be from Experian, but it's going on to your credit profile to ensure that the information that is there matches up with the information that you have at the State Corporation Commission, but also matches up with the information that you have that's available at the IRS. So all of these things, such as address, spelled out AVE versus avenue, that is a major difference that I see a lot of people get hung up on, is that for the State Corporation Commission, it's spelled out avenue, AVENUE, whereas the credit reporting agency is having it as AVE. Little differences like this could, throw up flags because there are discrepancies between one and the other. So definitely the address that is on the credit report needs to be exactly similar to what you have on a credit report. We also talk about the different names, right? So here is LaSalle Medical.
Mhm.
However, LaSalle is operating as LaSalle Medical Solutions Inc., as well as LaSalle Oncology Rehab, right? Now, this might be that LaSalle Medical is a LLC, and the business could be operating under a DBA, or they might have some other type of structure that is in place, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we often see is a concern is when the NAICS code, right? The NAICS code is something that we spoke about in earlier sessions, but with the NAICS code, this can have an impact on whether you are being approved or whether you are being denied. The reason why is there are certain industries that will never get approved, right? Just like if you are in the adult entertainment industry, you will never be approved for business financing, similar to other high risk activities. But there are also some additional activities that, although you will probably be underwritten properly for it, they're just going to scrutinize it just a little bit more difficult, right? So when it comes to your NAICS code, you may have an incorrect NAICS code and you need for that NAICS code to be corrected. And that's where you can work with your accountant, et cetera, because that's where it's usually filed initially. And from there, you might have to change it in that regard. But you could definitely go over, report to the credit reporting agency that it is incorrect, and you can follow the steps there. But one of the things that you see, what you're looking for is accuracy with everything that is on this report, the number of years that the business has been on file, right? Number of employees, sales, filing date provided by, and then the date of incorporation, or whether or not if you're doing the LLC. But also the key personnel are going to be reported here as well. The sick number used is there, but the sick number has been deprecated for the NIACS, but it is still there as well. What you're looking for here is to make sure that this report has no inaccuracies. And if there are inaccuracies, the thing that you want to do to move forward is to get all of those corrected, right? These are ultimate companies and different things of that sort. All of this information should be right for the majority of owners. They are still in that first iteration of the business, so I don't see too much of that with many of the folks that we speak to. And moving further down, as you see here, is the score. This, because it is with Experian, this is going to be your IntelliScore, right? And as you can see, with a score of 60, this is low to medium risk. If you are in these areas, 20s and 40s and things of that sort, that's where you're going to be a higher risk, and you will probably not be approved. The other thing that we need to state for the record again is that you do not, as a business owner, have to give approval for your report to be pulled, right? Anyone who is a creditor can go and pull your report just to determine where things are. So we usually say try to pay off your bills within, definitely before they are due, right? But the faster you can pay this, the better off the scores are going to be. As you scroll down just a little bit further, this is something that is particular to Experian, but it's the financial stability risk. And right now they are low risk. The financial stability risk rating of 1 indicates a 0.55, so less than 1% potential risk of severe financial distress within the next 12 months. One of the things that we spoke about when we first came into this industry, where we were having a conversation as to, well, what is the really big discrepancies between your personal credit score and your business credit score, right? And your personal credit score, it looks over several years, whereas your business credit score is really looking to see, well, what's going to happen with that business in the next 12 months, right? So this is your financial stability risk, right? And the lower it is, the better it is, right? So that's just something that you definitely want to look at. Any questions?
No, this is good. I think for a lot of people, this will be quite beneficial to see this firsthand and see how the actual report looks like and how to actually also interpret some of those numbers that you see in there. This is good.
No, there's a lot of information that is here, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to educate the
Hmm.
community as a whole, right? We want to give everyone enough information such that they are able to make sound decisions as they are continuing on their journeys. So let's get back to the report here. And one of the things is that when other creditors, other vendors see that you have been applied for credit, that's how they look to determine whether or not if they're going to give you any additional credit. But what you could see here is now in section number 4 is your credit summary, and DBTs is days beyond terms. That's definitely something that you want to look at, especially when you are looking at days beyond terms when you are compared to your industry. So here they are a 1, right? And their average industry days beyond terms is a 3. So this one is showing really good. And then over here in section number 5, it's basically showing you your payment trends and where do you stand up to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, and greater than 90. These are things that you want to be looking at on a monthly basis and a quarterly basis. But when you
Mhm.
look at this company, LaSalle Medical, they have a pretty decent payment history. So that's probably going to be feeding into the score up here from a financial stability risk rating because they are paying off their bills in time, definitely up to 30 days on all of these different balances that they have there, right? When you come down, one of the other pieces that we like to talk about is the type of credit that you have and is available to your business. So here are the payment experiences for the financial trades, right? And these are going to be varied net 30, net 30, net 30, right? But also you want to also ensure that the vendors who you are working with are actually reporting, and that's where you're going to be looking at the trade line experiences that you have here. So as you can see from the sample here, this company has a robust number of trade lines that are reporting. And as I have always communicated time and time again, one of the things that is really critical that you see is that there are a number of trade lines. The more trade lines that you have, anywhere when you have more than 9 trade lines reporting, that is going to be putting you in that space of tier 4. And tier 4 is where you want to be because in tier 4, that's where you have extensive lines available to you, right? So if you see here, they have a credit line over here of 237,600, of which they have a balance of 135,006, and they are current, right? So those are the types of reports that you want to see over here. If you scroll down, we're just going to look at some of the bigger ones. They have a line that is reporting to them over here. It's 997,005, right? Of which they have $570,000 due, as well as 3 million is available here in medical supplies, but they only have due $3,200. So what you can see is although they have lines of credit and trade lines available to them, they are using those lines of credit and those trade lines very judiciously, right?
Mhm.
So when you come down here, you start to see the different other types of credit lines that are available to them. And as you can see, the balances are very low on all of these trade lines, etc. Right here, they have 179,000, 2,100 is open. but this is what you're working for. The one thing that we always advise is that you are ensuring that you are working with vendors who are actually going to be reporting to the different agencies about those payment experiences. That is going to be absolutely critical, is that you work with vendors who are going to be reporting. It's like, if you are a landlord and you're paying for the heat, but in the wintertime you see that the tenants have the windows open, it's not costing them anything, it's costing that landlord a lot of stuff. So you want to make sure that you're working with vendors who are actually going to be reporting for you for the most part. Down here is where you can see the industries where people are inquiring about your business, like who's pulling on it. It's not going to tell you their specific name, right? But it's going to put them into categories: banks,
Mm.
bureaus, drugs, financial services, and things of that sort. And that should make a whole lot of sense to you. Now, down here is where it gets a little bit crazy, right? So, down here is where you see collection filings, Acme collections, closed paid in full, but the amounts aren't too crazy, right? So, these are still open accounts, etc. Not too crazy. But one of the things that you have down here that is of particular attention is when it comes to the UCC filings, right? Down here, when you see at the very bottom of the report, you see judgments that have been filed against you, and where are those judgments? Now, those judgments aren't negative, 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 but when you start to look over here, you see there was a judgment filing for the liability of 2,675, right? And also you see down here there was another filing for 4,452. These are small judgments, right? So there's not going to be much that you have to worry about, but they're judgments nonetheless. I would say the two bigger ones that are of concern here are definitely going to be the ones at the very bottom, where you have tax liens, right? So there's a tax lien against this company with Montgomery County. It's a state tax lien in the amount of $253,985. So that is definitely going to be of concern to me if I'm looking at whether or not if extend credit to this company, because they seem to have an issue with paying their taxes here, and that's still recorded and available on their report. The other thing is over here is when it comes to the UCC filings. This is basically saying that there is another company in another state or bank that has a lien that is being held up against your corporation. So you can see the UCC filings have already been here. Walters Medical Corp, right, in Pennsylvania, and it goes on down, on down, on down, on down, and on down from there. So basically, additional things that you need to be looking at from a credit perspective, but also you want to make sure that these numbers are healthy. One of the things that we do for our business is we leverage NAV, so that, on a daily basis, for the most part, we're looking at our report to determine whether or not it's showing up correctly. Like, we can see our scores on a daily basis through NAV, and it'll tell us whether or not, if it's up, if it's down, where is it not. And we use that information so that we are making better and more sound decisions about what is there when it comes to our business. So, we just wanted to share today so that others can have an understanding of what it is, or what is going to be the conversation that you're going to be having with anyone that is going to be extending credit to your business. And by having that understanding, you're now going to be in a better position to make decisions as to whether or not if you apply or don't apply. What I find quite often is that businesses, they are just shooting into the dark, right? They have no idea what is already on their credit profile. And in certain instances, I had a client probably a couple months ago. I pulled their credit report for them, and when I pulled it, I pulled one of their credit profiles. They actually had two, right? So now here you are applying for credit, and you actually have two credit profiles, right? And you want to combine those two credit profiles so that you're driving your business off of one. I think that makes a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But what do I know? Right? We 5 years ago, we weren't educated on these particular topics. So we were doing what many others are doing. That's why we have a certain level of grace and empathy for other business owners who may not understand what they don't understand. We didn't know that we had to have a credit profile with the different agencies and how to review those credit profiles. But I've looked at many of credit profiles with our clients, and I have been able to become somewhat of an expert and and helping our clients there. Eunice, why don't you play the role of of one of our clients and ask me a question about the credit report and see if I might be able to answer it?
Mhm. So, what do you believe is the implication of having some of those? For example, at the end of the report, it shows where you have liens, where you have any filings against you. Do you
Mhm.
believe those really work against me as a business person trying to get credit at a maybe at a banking institution?
Absolutely. Because let's use the example of a UCC filing, right?
Hmm.
So, what is a UCC filing? A UCC filing is basically a notice to the public that a lender has a legal claim on your business assets, right?
Mm.
Right. And often it is something that is required when your business does get certain types of filing, right? So what we saw in the case of LaSalle Medical is that they had a number of different liens, right, against their business. So too many UCC filings can hurt your chances of getting approved for new loans,
Hmm.
right? Especially if older liens haven't been terminated or released. So I say that to say that yes, you have paid off a lender, right? It's going to be on you, and it's going to be on you to ensure that the lender, once you have paid off the debt, has removed the UCC filing from
Hmm.
your report, right? But
Yeah.
if you aren't looking at your report, it's kind of difficult to be in a position where you can say, "Hey, I'm ready to go and apply for credit." And that's one of the things when you're working with us or you're working with one of the business credit coaches, we can pull your report and tell you exactly what is being recorded there so that you have a certain bit of information that is available to you. I believe that you have to be able to make sound decisions as the
Yeah.
CEO or just the sole proprietor for your organization. So
Hmm.
we have said a lot. What I wanted to show once again to all of those in the world, in the universe, in the community, wherever you are, is that the 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 report that I just showed you is from Experian. And if this is the very first time that you saw it, it's going to look like Greek or Chinese or Mandarin or whatever. It's going to look like I don't really know what I am seeing here. But
Yeah.
what we can do is go through the report with you so that you have a healthy understanding of where does your business stand with respect to credit. I would say that you want to do this at least once a year, but I would say if you have credit monitoring on using like a NAV or something similar, you can probably get away with doing this at that one time a year, because then you're going to be using NAV, so that NAV can then report to you what is going on.
Mm. Well, this has been quite informative. I think I want to believe that a lot of our viewers out there have learned a couple of things from this and are in a position where they are able to themselves go out and get their own credit report, or if you're looking for somebody that you can who can walk you through the report and possibly put up a plan as to how do you move from where you are to the next level, then we have that barcode in there. If you're interested and you want something similar for your own business, scan the barcode, schedule some time with us, and we can do that with you and for you. Anything else that you want to share? I think it was a great session. And um, anything else you
No,
want to share?
as Bugs Bunnies used to say before he would close out, he would say, "That's all, folks. That's all, folks. That's all." So what we want to do is let you know that next week we are going to be having another topic, and that topic is going to be from zero to funded, a case study in using EIN credit alone, and we will go from there. We're at the bottom of the hour. We want to thank
Hmm.
everyone for joining us. But oh, you know what, Eunice? This
Yeah.
quickly, I'm going to put up our question and answers just to see if anybody has any questions. But you know what? I remember I used, yeah, there we go. Maybe the reason why we hadn't been getting as many questions is because I forgot where the code was so that we could open it up to our viewers for any questions that they have. But I also want to let them know that we are now on TikTok. So we weren't
Yeah.
on TikTok. You're not going to be seeing us doing any crazy
No
dances on
dancing. No
TikTok.
dancing.
You might see Eunice doing some dancing.
No.
So, I guarantee you, if I was to put on some house music from South Africa, we'll see her put on her moves. But I was born with three left feet, not two left feet, and I am the only brown man who can not dance. I look pretty stiff, probably because I'm thinking too much. But
Yes, you are.
let me not forecast stereotypes. I can dance when I'm dancing to myself. I look really good when I'm dancing to myself. So, with that being said, we're going to close out today's session. I don't see any comments coming in, but if you do have a comment, you can just, share a comment on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and now TikTok and Instagram. We are out there into the world trying to help as many businesses not only to survive but thrive past year 5. So, we're wishing you another wonderful winning Wednesday. Basketball season has started. The Rockets and the Thunder had an amazing game, double overtime last night. That's why I'm a little bit tired, because I stayed up past my bedtime. But we'll see you
Mm.
next Wednesday, and until then, take care of yourself, be well, and have a good rest of your